Hey everyone, welcome to yet another session of VWO webinar, where experts in digital marketing, experimentation, data, and product share their trade tips and inspiring stories for you to learn from. I am Shanaz, Marketing Manager at VWO. For those of you who do not know what VWO is a full funnel website optimization, A/B testing, experimentation, and conversion rate optimization platform. Today, we have with us Nancy, Senior CRO Consultant at VWO. Nancy owns the strategy and execution of CRO programs for many of VWO's clients across various industries, ranging from e-commerce, banking, media, hospitality, SaaS, and much more. If you could please turn on your camera, Nancy, so that our audience could see you.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Shana.
for doing this. I'm sure there will be a plethora of insights to take back from the session today. But before I pass on the mic to you, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in from all over the world and inform you that we will be taking up questions at the end of the session. So please feel free to drop your questions at any given point during the presentation. With that, Nancy, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Shanaz, for the introduction. In this webinar, I will be talking about CRO and the right way to do CRO. It's a pretty in thing these days since everybody's talking about it. But in this session, I'll try to not talk about stuff about concepts just theoretically, but give you something which is which you can get in action, right? So let's get started with that. What are we covering today? So the first thing is important reason behind no success from CRO for some businesses, right? Second thing is how to conduct research to generate data-driven, high-impacting hypotheses. Third is what's the importance of prioritization framework. The fourth point is things to consider before implementing a test, and lastly, what to do with your test results, right? But before we start and go into the details of these points, I want to quickly give a brief introduction about conversion rate optimization for people who are pretty much new to this. So conversion rate optimization, to simply understand, is the systematic process of basically increasing the percentage of visitors who take a desired action while they interact with your business. So that action could be anything: purchasing from your website, downloading an ebook, signing up for free trial, signing up for demo, etc. Right? So you have a goal of your website, you're trying to increase the conversion rate for that goal by optimizing the conversion funnel, and that is simply conversion rate optimization. Right, so now that you have an understanding of what is conversion rate optimization, let's get into the details of the agenda that we have for this session. The first is important reason behind no success from CRO for some businesses. Now, a lot of businesses aspire to do CRO like Netflix, Airbnb, Spotify, etc., because they've had massive success from experimentation, right? But that rarely happens when companies start doing CRO experimentation. And the reason for that is there is no structured process and haphazard testing. So people are pretty much enthusiastic, they're excited, they have a test list of test ideas they want to execute, but where they lack is proper process, detailed planning is not there. They will not have clear goal on which they want to focus. They will not do a lot of research, so their hypothesis will not have data points which will sort of validate or support that hypothesis. They will not even define hypothesis, so they will just have a change in their mind which they want to test, but they don't clearly know that if they implement that test, what are they expecting and why are they expecting, what are the assumptions and what is the data that is backing that assumption, right? They do not have any clear testing roadmap in mind, and they're skipping steps which is leading to poor quality. They have to sort of maybe rerun the test because they skipped some of the steps. So all of this, because there is no structured process, there is no framework, it leads to tests that provide no uplift and no learning, right? So the question comes, what is the right way to do CRO? So it is data backed iterative testing, right? So you must have come across a lot of frameworks and fancy words about conversion rate optimization process and steps on the internet. But it's fairly straightforward, fairly simple. And what you see on the slide, you'll be able to understand. So the first thing is you need to define the goal and KPIs, key performance indicators, that will basically help you track the performance and impact the goal that you have in mind. Now, once you have the direction defined, you start digging deeper into what problems are there, which is sort of impacting your growth, impacting your conversion rate. So you collect data, you analyze data to understand the struggles of your users, the problems they're facing, right? Next, you move on to solutioning. You try to find out what are the solutions that will help you fix those leaks, right? Reduce frictions on your website. And once you have those solutions, then you put it into testing. And lastly is deriving learnings, that is post-testing analysis. So once you have run the test, you've stopped the test, you will sort of analyze whether it was a winner, it gave you a uplift, or it didn't give you an uplift, or how your user behavior got impacted, how the KPIs, the goals got impacted with the changes that you introduced, right? And every time you conclude a test, you have a new learning, which again goes back into that loop where you are able to discover new problem that your users are facing. You find out solution for it, you go for testing out that solution, and that goes on, right? So it's an iterative process, but data backed, right? Companies who do not do much planning, they mostly, they do not focus a lot on the data part. They usually have already, assumptions in their mind. Based on those intuitions, they will come up with test ideas and they want to execute those test ideas, which is why they do not see a lot of success, right? But if you follow this process, these steps, you will 100% have uplift in your revenue, plus learnings about your user behavior that you can apply in other functions like sales, marketing, and other client facing teams can also use those learnings, right? So that is about the right way to do CRO. Next is how to conduct research to generate data-driven, high-impacting hypotheses. Now we are focusing a lot on data and having data-backed testing ideas. So it's important that we talk about it in detail, right? So this is the section that covers the details about how to conduct research. The first thing that you need to do is set up the goal. You need to write down your business goal. That might be an overarching long-term goal, maybe what you want to achieve in 3 years and 5 years. Next, once you have that, you cascade your business goals into conversion goals, right? So for instance, you can ask that, how does your website contribute towards your business goal? How does your mobile app contribute towards your conversion goal, right? So once you have these conversion goals, for every website conversion goals, there will be a set of metrics, right? And these metrics will help you track the performance of your campaigns, plus the performance of different sections of the website, right? And once you have defined these metrics, now you can start working on the ideas. You can start working on introducing changes to improve the performance of your website. So that is the first step. Another thing in goal setting, which is worth mentioning here, is macro conversions and micro conversions. So macro conversion, as the word, as the name suggests, it is about the the top line goal, the primary objective of your website. So it is usually revenue based or lead acquisition based. For an e-commerce website, probably it will be, of course, purchasing stuff from the website, right? Micro conversion, on the other hand, is more engagement based, navigation based, right? So for instance, you download an ebook from the website, or you watch some video, some product demo video you watch online, right? So those are micro conversions. Micro conversions somewhere show that you are progressing, you are able to get engagement from the user, and eventually he will end up converting for the macro goal. But it does not really guarantee that if a person, let's say he watches product demo, he will definitely sign up for maybe a trial from your website, right? But it's very important that you understand not all the campaigns can be judged on the basis of macro conversion. For instance, for e-commerce website, if you're running a campaign on collection pages or category pages, you cannot judge whether it's a winning campaign or a losing campaign on the basis of purchase goal, because it's way far from that page, and in between there are multiple pages, multiple information, multiple content, a lot of content that is shown to the user that will influence his decision, right? So in that case, the success defining metric cannot be purchase goal, but rather these engagement goals, like people visiting the product details page and doing add to cart on product details page. So that would be a better metric to judge the performance of a campaign that you're running on a collection page, right? So that is about the first step, that you need to have clarity about the goals. Next comes benchmarking. So this means you need to understand where do you stand in the industry. What is the performance of your top 25% companies in the industry, and where are you? Like, are you doing better? Are you doing worse? Or are you at the same position? So you need to ask questions like, what is the conversion rate of add to cart for top 25% businesses, and now see what is your, right? So that will help you understand that how much improvement you need to make. It'll help you again doing that goal setting, how much you can really achieve, right? For instance, I can give you an example of, for instance, this e-commerce website, so sorry, e-commerce industry benchmarking says that top 25% companies, they have a cart abandonment rate of less than 30%. Now, if your analysis shows that your cart abandonment rate is higher than 70%, so benchmarking exercise is enabling you to sort of prioritize cart page, make changes there, fix the leaks so that you're able to impact your conversion rate, right? So that is why benchmarking is important, to understand where do you stand, and you can set goals for yourself. The next step is collecting and analyzing data. Now you need to identify problems. You can identify problems by collecting data, right? There are multiple sources from which you can collect this data. So first thing you need to do is you need to understand your buyer persona. Second is observing data. So this means quantitative analysis. Third is observing behavior. That means qualitative analysis. Fourth is observing opinion. That means not just looking at the data, but actually looking at what people are saying and maybe talking to them, right? Last is competitor analysis. So let's have a look at all of these points individually, how you can collect data. First is understanding buyer persona. So you have set a goal, for yourself. How do you plan to sort of get the ROI from your CRO efforts? But it's important that you identify the buyer persona that will help you achieve those goals. So you need to have a clear understanding in your mind about your target user persona. So you need to have detailed understanding. What is his age, his location, his income, education, what are his hobbies, what device does he use, is he single, is he married with kids? Every detail you need to have. What are the information sources that he used to make a decision, right? And these kind of information you can easily find from these social media analytics reports, Google Analytics. All of these sources you can use in order to get this information. As a result of this, what you will be able to do is basically understand the copy and the design that you need to have on your website that will suit your target user persona. For instance, if you are an e-commerce website that sells luxury handbags for women, and you see that a lot of traffic that you see on your website coming is from the female within the age bracket of 18 to 24. However, your conversion rate is higher for audience which is in the age bracket of 35 plus. So you know now that your copy, the content that you're going to show on the website, the design that you're going to show, the sentiment, the tonality of the the copy, it all needs to suit the requirements of this 35 plus segment of audience, right? So that is the importance of understanding buyer persona. Next is doing quantitative analysis. So Google Analytics is one of the most important, like most common and popular tools that businesses use to understand what are the worst performing pages, what are the top performing pages, and where exactly is the funnel broken, right? Because that will tell you what is the problem, and then you can move on to really understanding that why are people not moving forward, why are they dropping off from that stage. So for instance, taking that previous example of cart page, if you see that 70% people drop off from the cart page, uh, you know that you have to work on the cart page to increase people basically cart to checkout rate. You have to push more people towards the checkout so that they complete the purchase and they're not dropping off from the cart page, right? So this will tell you where your funnel is broken. But the answer to the question that why people are leaving from that page, you will get from qualitative analysis. And that can happen by looking at the browsing patterns of visitors on your website. You can look at session recordings, you can look at heat maps, click maps, scroll maps. All of these tools you can use in order to understand how people are interacting with the web page where you see the drop off happening. Where are the places they are pausing, and where do they sort of are clicking and they're not clicking. All of those things you will understand, right? So for instance, on the cart page you are able to see that only 10% clicks are happening on the go to checkout page, go to checkout button on the cart page that takes users to the checkout page, right? And scroll maps shows you that the the at the bottom of the page that go to checkout button is present, and only 20% people are scrolling up till that section of the cart page, right? So now that because of the visibility issue, the go to checkout button clicks are very low, right? So this will help you understand that why people are dropping off, right? So another way you can also additional way you can also figure out what are the problems is doing heuristic review. That means you sort of try to put yourself into the shoes of end user, try to empathize with them and see what struggles they are going through, what information is lacking on the website, which is making decision making a little tough for them, and which is why they're not confident enough, right? So qualitative analysis using heat map, session recordings, plus doing heuristic review will further reveal insights about why people are not moving forward, what are their anxiety points, what are their doubts that they are going through, right? Also, another thing that I would like to mention is that whenever you come across any observation, it's important to ask enough number of whys, right? And that will enable you to basically form solid hypotheses. So for instance, in case of this cart page example, you come across this data point that 70% people are dropping off from the cart page. You ask, why is that happening? You get an answer that because only 10% people click on go to checkout button that takes them to the next page. Why is that? Because people are not able to sort of see that button. Why are they not able to see that button? Because it is present at the bottom of the page where only 20% people reach, right? So this will help you come closer to the change that you should really execute to have a higher impact and have an uplift and fix that leak. Right, so that is about qualitative analysis. Next is observing opinion. Now, whatever you have done up till now, it's all about you see the data and you are interpreting it, right? And information can be interpreted in multiple ways by different people. So to be more accurate, you can also talk to your talk to your visitors, talk to your customers, look at what are they writing on the reviews websites, look at what are they writing on social media websites, in the comment section, all of that, right? So you are directly understanding what they are saying about your business, about your products, about your services. For surveys and polls, there's one thing that I would like to mention. It's very important that you're asking the right question to the right type of audience at right time. This means that you cannot really ask a question to all types of visitors. You need to differentiate site visitors from site customers, because customers will have a different awareness level. They will have more context, more knowledge about your product and services, while the site visitors will not have that much information. So site visitors, you can use this segment to probably ask question that reveals the pain points, the anxiety points. For site customers, you can ask question that reveals the USPs, the aha moment, so that you're able to use that information and highlight it on your homepage, on your landing page, your USPs. Because a lot of time it happens that what you think is your USP is not really exactly same as what people think, your customers think as your USP, right? So this is how you will be able to again get a lot of understanding of test ideas that you can really execute on the website. Next is competitor analysis. So it's very important that you are not repeating the mistakes that your competitors they have already done. So you can avoid those mistakes. You can look at the top 25% people or the performers in your industry, bottom 25% performers, what has worked for them, what mistakes they have done, and accordingly make decisions and make changes on your website. So this will save a lot of time and effort for you, because you won't be repeating that mistake, and whatever has worked for these guys you can take inspiration for that, right? So that is all about collecting data and analyzing data. Next comes is hypothesis. So once you have collected data, analyzed data, you will have solutions in your mind, right? Now at this stage it is very important to note that you need not just have a change in mind which you are just blindly following and putting it to execution. You need to define it in the format of hypothesis. That means there is a dependent variable, there is an independent variable, and you have an assumption which is backed by data. And this is the format that you can use if, for instance, in our case of e-commerce cart page example, if I place go to checkout button in the first fold on the cart page, it will result in more clicks on go to checkout button on the cart page, because right now the visibility of go to checkout button is very low since it is present at the bottom of the cart page. So this format really helps you think through your idea, right? And it also clarifies the goals that you want to really track, and define what primary metric or success defining metric you will be keeping for the campaign, right? So that is about creating hypothesis. Next comes the prioritization. Now, a lot of times it will happen that for a problem that you've identified, you will have multiple solutions, right? And in that case, you need to decide which solution you want to test out first. Now, in that case, if you do not have any process, if you do not have any framework in your mind, maybe a highest person in the organization or your manager might tell you that, based on his assumption, that test out this particular idea first, right? So that is not going to work out. That is probably, will not again give you a lot of results in terms of uplift or learnings. So you need to have prioritization framework, because it will help you eliminate that biasness, that subjectivity, and it will help you prevent aimless testing. You will have more planning. You will be judging each and every campaign on the basis of the impact, their effort, and these different parameters that we have in prioritization frameworks. So the prioritization framework that VW uses is ICE model. There are multiple others that you can find on the internet, but this is the one that we use. So I stands for impact, C stands for confidence, and E stands for ease. So I is projected impact, and that you can judge by looking at the location of the test. How many people are you going to impact? How many people are you going to reach with that change? Is the audience, if you get very costly traffic on that on those set of target URLs, that is again going to be very important and high impacting. C stands for confidence. So this you can judge in terms of how many data points you have which support your hypothesis. If there is one idea which is supported by just one data point, you will score it low on 1 to 5 scale. But if there is another idea which is supported by 5 data points, it will have a higher score. Or you have case studies probably that test idea has worked for some other business, of similar in the same industry, and that will also increase your confidence that it may work for your business as well. So you need to gather evidence from the past to build this confidence and rate your idea on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of how much confidence you have. Lastly is effort. So effort is all about how much time, number of days, and resources would be spent on developing that campaign, on doing copywriting, designing, doing QA, all of that stuff, right? So execution wise, what all things are required. If that effort is going to be high, then you will of course probably deprioritize, and the ones which will be easy to execute and will have a higher impact, you would want to prioritize them first. So right, that is what I wanted to highlight in prioritization. Next we have is things to consider before implementing a test. So this is a step which is highly underestimated by a lot of people. Once they have a test idea in their mind, they have prioritized a test idea, they move on to just doing the execution. But before doing the execution, before running the test, it's very important that you spend some time understanding the type of test you will use in order to execute the test, whether it will be an A/B test, split test, or an MVT. What are the goals that you will be sort of tracking, and you need to define which will be a success defining metric, which we call as primary metric, that will capture the true performance, the true impact of that change. You need to define your secondary goals, how people would be moving forward in the sort of how they are moving forward in the journey, right? So you are able to understand that if they move forward from step 1, what do they do on step 3, on step 4, and so on. And then guardrail metrics, this will be mostly your macro goal. For instance, in case of e-commerce business, if you're doing a change on collection page, and you have defined add to cart on product page as your primary metric, you do not want your purchases to get negatively impacted while you are pursuing this add to cart goal, right? So guardrail metrics usually are the ones which you do not want to have any negative impact. Maybe they might have no impact or positive impact, right? So the focus will be on primary. And lastly is the configuration. So a lot of people, again, do not think through what all pages they want to target or audience they want to target, and they miss on integrations with other reporting tools that are there, like Google Analytics and everything. So it's very important that you're spending time to understand and decide your goals, the type of test you want to choose. For instance, in this case, A/B testing. So A/B testing you can use when there are just 2 to 4 variables, 2 to 4 changes involved. But if you see that you are doing a complete revamp and there are a lot of variables involved, you can go for a split test, right? So it will be a complete new page, completely new URL, and that is how you can execute that test. Or you can go for a multivariate test, which we call as MVT, when you want to actually see all the combinations of multiple changes that you've introduced, right? So these all things come under design of experiment, which is very important to decide before you start running a test. Lastly, we have what to do with your test results. So this means that you have run your test, and now you have paused your test, you are concluding the test, right? So there'll be 2 scenarios. Either you will have an uplift, or you will see that variation underperformed, your control was still better. So what do you need to do in both these scenarios? When you have an uplift, you need to see that whether you have whatever like number you had in mind. For instance, you were targeting 10% uplift, but you got 5% uplift. So you need to see how much uplift you have got against what was your target, and also analyze the cost of deploying the changes and whether that justifies the uplift that you have got is enough to cover the cost of deploying the changes, right? So that is something which you need to decide before shipping the changes once you get a winning variation. On the other hand, when you see that variation is not performing well, in this case, you do not reject the campaign altogether and just declare it a failure, a failed variation. You in fact go on to further segmenting your reports, see if there are any small wins, maybe not on the whole, but for desktop new user, it might have worked out well, right? So you need to do segmentation to reveal further insights. And also, it's equally important to look into the recordings and heat maps and scroll maps and do that qualitative analysis again to understand, how audience reacted to the changes, how their behavior actually changed. Because just looking at the number that it gave an uplift, it didn't give an uplift is not enough. You need to answer the why behind all of that, right? And the why, the answer to that question, you will only get after you do qualitative analysis using user recordings, heat maps, scroll maps, etc. Right? And as I said, once you conclude the campaign, you will always have something new learning, which you can again, sort of use to reconstruct a new hypothesis and, run a new test again, right? So that is how it works in when you have a variation which is not performing. Now, there are certain things that you need to do irrespective of whatever is your result, whether it's a winning variation or not. First is you have to define conclusion. You have to state whether it's a winning variation or whether control is better, right? Next is you need to document business learnings. It's very important that you maintain, you document all of these learnings that you're getting so that you can sort of use that learning and again for another page or another section of the website you can reuse that learning, right? And you're not making the same mistake again. The same goes for operational learnings. You need to document operational learning. So in case you faced some challenges while configuring the test, whether it was related to the audience or goal configuration, so all of those challenges that you faced and then you found out a solution for it, you can document it so that you can save your time when in future you are running a similar test, you are using a similar audience for the test. So it's very important that whatever challenges that you face, whatever operational learnings you have, you document it. And lastly, sharing and evangelizing the learnings, because you can have real success from conversion rate optimization efforts when once you are sharing the learnings with other teams, right? Because in that case you are able to pass on the learnings and they are able to actually use that learning and make their decision accordingly. They are not making same mistake. There is some learning that you passed on to them, so they learn from it and they are also improving. So those learnings could be used in your other functions so that you're able to make better marketing decisions, probably sales decisions, and in other functions as well, right? So that is about the last step, which is concluding a test, right? And with that we uh, come to the end of this session. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them up and answer your questions.
Thank you, Nancy. That was really insightful. We do have a lot of questions. Let me just address some of them. So we will be sharing the recording as well as the slide with all the attendees and all the registrants within 24 to 48 hours from now. So whoever missed the session in the beginning or whoever wasn't able to attend, there's nothing to worry about. They'll reach you straight to your inboxes. So with that, let me take the first question. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Pardon me if I'm not. Vyacheslav is asking if VWO can be used both for client side and server side testing.
Yes, 100%. So we do have a VW full stack product that you can use for server side testing. It's if you go onto vw.com website, you will be able to see in the product section. It's listed there. You can easily find out the details about that. So yeah, we do have this product.
Yeah. Next question is by Alexis Martin. Alexis is asking if there are any tips for not getting overwhelmed when looking at heat maps and session recordings. Uh, Often I don't see a clear pattern in terms of user behavior.
Okay. Okay. So it's very important firstly that you are looking at uh, how much sample size you have. At times, this is the challenge which usually comes when you have very less number of clicks. You are just looking at probably 200 300 clicks, and they are not sufficient enough, and you don't see a lot of interaction, right? So first thing, ensure that you have enough sample size, you have enough number of data to understand and gain valuable learnings from heat maps. Another thing is, heat maps. If you're not able to understand heat maps, look at click maps, because that will give you in terms of percentage, like 10% of people clicked on XYZ element, right? So you will have more specific information in terms of engagement when you look at click map. Maybe on heat map, because it works on the color basis, maybe you're not able to understand. So use click maps in that case. And scroll maps will help you a lot in understanding till what depth your audience is reading your page, right? For instance, you see that there is some information which is present at third fold, and people who do interact with that third fold, who do click there, they have a higher conversion rate. So that right now only 30% people are able to see that section, because your scroll map shows that. You can now prioritize whatever information is given in that section on the first fold or the second fold, where you have more visibility, right? So I think that will help you a lot, because scroll maps plus click maps give you more sort of in terms of percentages, the engagement data.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Alexis. Uh, so the next question is from Renee Selzer. Renee is asking if it is better to isolate pieces or test whole new versions altogether.
Okay. Well, see, this depends on your hypothesis. If your changes are related and they are sort of forming one hypothesis, then you can have those multiple changes tested in one test campaign, right? And you can have maybe multiple variations. In one variation you just have two changes, in another variation you have the other two changes, right? But if you have a lot of changes, maybe 8 to 10 changes that are involved in your hypothesis, so it's better to do a split test in that case, rather than doing multiple, I would say, variations, because that might divide your entire sort of traffic, and it'll take a lot more time to conclude as well, right? But yeah, it all depends on your hypothesis, how your hypothesis is. If your hypothesis involves that all of those changes are going to work for a common goal, and the data is also supporting that, so you can have one campaign with multiple variations as a test campaign for such type of an idea.
Yeah, yeah, I think data is the answer to everything. Based on the data you have and the goals you've set for that particular campaign, that should tell you uh, how many elements, or do you need a
Right.
complete design or stuff like that. All right, I hope that answered your question. The next question is from Supriya Agarwal. How should insights from customer surveys be embedded into a CRO experiment? And if surveys are not responded to, how do you get relevant insights?
Okay. So, see, to get conversion, like to get engagement on surveys, it's very important you're asking right type of questions at right time, right? Timing is very important. You cannot ask question when a person is probably, you know, he is doing something else, and you are, throwing the survey on their face, which is sort of distracting them, and it is quite intrusive, right? So you need to have the timing, you need to do research, whatever your question, whatever your objective is, accordingly do some research how other businesses have at what triggers they have, at what time and what triggers they have used in order to show the survey. Another thing is, right audience, you're asking the right question. So as I mentioned, a site visitor is not going to give you a detailed answer because he does not have a lot of information, plus he's not that much invested in you, right? So you can only have multiple choice questions for such type of a visitor. But a person who has already purchased from you, maybe he will be open to giving you more detailed feedback, right? And how does this goes into your hypothesis library? As I mentioned, for instance, you are trying to understand the USPs that you should highlight on your homepage so that you're able to increase the engagement of the audience of the new visitors from homepage to your other bottom of the funnel pages. So in that case, you can ask your site converters who have already purchased that what are the top 3 things that they loved about you, loved about the product, about the service and everything. And this insight will tell you that exactly is that is giving them that aha moment, or it's a great thing for them which is working out. And you can use that information to add those USPs on the homepage. You can, instead of having generic ones which people use like free shipping and everything, you can have real these USPs which your visitors are actually, your converters are actually telling you, right? That is the reason why they purchased from.
Yeah. So the next question is by Rodrigo. Uh, Rodrigo, you're asking if we have any real CRO real examples to show. So for that, I would suggest head on to vwo.com/resources, and you'll see more than 100 case studies, success stories that companies have shared with us using VWO, that they have the successes that companies, that organizations have experience using VWO and doing CRO. So yeah, I think you'll get a lot of data for a lot of industries, and endless type of campaigns that people have run and seen successes. Yeah, sure. So Sumit Ramesh is asking that most tools do not show the cart page or cart page heat map or scroll map, since the cart page keeps on changing. Is there a way to set up behavior reports on cart page?
Well, I think on vwo.com, if you use heat maps there, you should be able to see the cart page. And no matter, like, I would say that whatever changes you're doing, you will be able to see that updated heat map in whatever tool you are using, right? So I don't see a problem in that. I think that is more about the tool that you're using.
Yeah. Uh, so the next question is by T. Bui. Uh, he's asking for a suggestion. T-Bui's company is working on revamping the site based on personal opinions, not related to testing, but they want him to conduct tests at the same time when he has no idea what the new design is. So how should T-Bui approach this?
Okay. Well, when your company has decided to do a revamp, do a new design, uh, I would say it's not worth testing, right now, maybe because, that will, your efforts will not really, be valuable because they have already decided something new. In this case, I would rather suggest you speak to your, leadership who have planned this change, who are deciding this change, and tell them that, let's test that new design in sections, elements wise. You can test, right? For instance, you can pick one page and you can do some changes that are there in the new design, so that you are able to gather evidence whether that new design is going to work or not. And you will save actually a lot of save them from losses, because if they go for complete revamp without testing, they would not know whether it's working out well or not. And most of the times, because of the new design, the site visitors, they're not used to the new design. They will find a problem, they will struggle moving forward, and they will not really convert. So instead of doing that like uh, uh, all in one that change, I would suggest doing incremental sort of testing. uh, Whatever design you have, new design you have, pick bits and pieces, test them out, validate them, and then move forward towards doing the revamp once you have tested and you know that this is going to work out. And if it does not, then you need to again suggest them that this is the modification that should be done in the new design.
Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Tibui. So we're running out of time. There are a lot of questions, so I'm going to scroll through and see how many of these. Yeah, so Shay Hackham is asking, how many recordings will be enough for pointing out a problem among thousands of recordings? Or is it only a verification for a problem you already noticed?
Yeah, so you need not see recordings of the entire website. You already have identified that this is the page, and or this is the segment of audience for which that the problem is. For instance, your new visitors on the product page, they're not doing add to carts, or the conversion rate is very low. So you will only pick that audience and you will view recordings for them to understand why. Somewhere you will have an idea, maybe 30%, 40% by doing heuristic review, but you will get more confident in your assumption when you will see that users what they are doing when you see the recording. So I would say not less than 200 recordings you should see. Definitely 200 is something you should always look at.
Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Shay Hackham. With that, we'd like to wrap up this session. We're running out of time. There are a lot of questions, but please reach out to Nancy or me on LinkedIn if you want to continue this conversation, or if you want to know anything else regarding CRO or VWO. We'd be happy to help you with all of those answers and clearing your doubts from the session or otherwise. Thank you so much, Nancy, for doing this with us. It was an awesome session with a lot of insights. I can see that by the number of questions that are pouring in even now. And thank you so much for doing this, and thank you everyone who attended the session. And we look forward to seeing you in our next webinar. All right. Thank you, Nancy.